On top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Hello there, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio for Friday, February 26, 2021. I am Kevin Smith and these are the top stories we're tracking. Education Minister schools MPs on poor conduct. Dr. Vincent Adams says oil companies don't come here to do you favors, only to take your money. And hours after returning from leave, Deputy Commissioner Williams sent to CDC. Meanwhile, couple sent to jail for stabbing neighbor and 10-year-old girl allegedly raped and left unconscious by relative. Do stay tuned.
Digicel Prime Bundles just got better with 3 new apps. Watch more with PlayGo, cheer more with Sportsmax, read more news with Loop, listen more with D-Music, plus extra data. It's simply more bundled together. 51 gigabytes for 7 days for only $2,000. Live the experience with Digicel. Activate today on the My Digicel app.
And now for the news in detail. In her introduction to her budget presentation, Minister of Education Priya Manikchand admonished the House, but particularly the APNU-AFC opposition for its poor conduct in Parliament. Minister Manikchand's schooling comes on the heels of reports that exposed the hurling of racist, homophobic and sexist insults from one member of Parliament to the other during the opening of budget debates. The Education Minister, before moving on to the crux of her presentation, reminded the House that the conversation should not be about an MP's weight, hair, or their style of dressing. In other news, foreign investment is necessary for the growth of a country. So said former EPA head Dr. Vincent Adams, who emphasized that he supports such direct investment. But Dr. Adams said that Guyana must be cognizant that these foreign companies, especially those in the oil sector operating or looking to operate in Guyana, are only looking to build its self-interests and not do the country a favor. Dr. Adams reminded that those executives are doing their jobs in what is in the best interest of their corporation. It is against this background that Dr. Adams reminded of the importance of Guyanese protecting and fighting for the country's best interest. And moving on, just hours after resuming duties at the Guyana Police Force's headquarters, yesterday Deputy Commissioner Paul Williams was posted to the Civil Defense Commission with immediate effect. Williams was sent on a 192 days annual vacation leave on August 17, 2020, mere weeks after the new government administration took office following the last elections. That leave ended on Wednesday and Williams reported at the police headquarters at Ivleri to resume his duties. News of his return broke yesterday after it was rumored that Williams was spotted in a compound greeting colleagues. Williams confirmed too that he did show up at Ivleri to report for duties. However, hours later, he received a transfer letter. And now let's tell you, a Durban Park Backlands Georgetown couple was on Wednesday sentenced to 3 years imprisonment each for stabbing their neighbor. The defendants, 30-year-old Kimo Harlequin and 26-year-old Kinney's Bob, were not required to plead to the indictable charge that alleged that they unlawfully and maliciously wounded Jermaine Sampson with the intent to maim, disfigure, disable, or cause grievous bodily harm to the victim. And now let's tell you, the Guyana Police Force yesterday reported that another child from Region 1 was allegedly raped. The child, a 10-year-old girl, was raped and left unconscious by one of her relatives who is presently in custody. According to a police report, on Wednesday the girl was left in the custody of a close relative. The report alleged that around 10 hours 30 she endured forcible sexual harassment by the said relative, which left her unconscious. It is understood that after the child's relative allegedly raped her, he then threatened to kill her if she told anyone what happened. And on that note, we head to a quick commercial break. But before we go, let's tell you what's coming up. Orinduik Block partners looking to cash in on heavy oil find from Jethro 1 well. Government should revoke mining concession on titled Amerindian lands, and 5 universities identified for scholarships. Meanwhile, woman who allegedly stabbed husband in self-defense faces no charge, and Lagrange murder mastermind gets 6 months for escaping from police station. Do stay tuned.
Guyana, please join me on the Glenn Lal Show, 99.1, 99.5, Kaieteur Radio, every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast of the next day at 11 a.m. just in case you missed that program.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. Eco Atlantic Oil and Gas Limited yesterday announced that the steady increase in world oil prices will potentially see it moving ahead to monetize the heavy oil found in its Orinduik block in 2019. The discovery was first made on August 12, 2019 by Tullow Oil, the operator of the block. The Orinduik block is adjacent and updipped to the ExxonMobil operated Stabroek block. Back in August of 2019, Eco Atlantic and its Orinduik JV partners had announced 2 massive oil finds from its Jethro 1 and Joe 1 wells, estimated to hold at least 4 billion barrels of oil. And moving on. Among a number of recommendations given at their virtual launch of the Participatory Assessment and Geographic Database of Indigenous Peoples' Lands Tenure in Guyana, the Amerindian Peoples Association has recommended that concessions be revoked once given without free prior and informed consent. The research project, which began since 2012, sought to assess indigenous villages in regions 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9, and many of the villages were having land conflicts. Key findings based on the research were presented by the APA's Governance and Rights Coordinator, Laura George. It must be noted that the research included 49 local indigenous researchers. And now let's tell you, Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand yesterday identified 5 universities where 4,500 Guyanese will receive online scholarships to obtain their university education. The universities were identified as the Indira Gandhi National Open University, the Jain Deemed to be University, the University of the West Indies Open Campus, and the University of the West Indies Open Campus Vocational, the International University of Applied Sciences in Germany. Further, the initiative falls under the National Online Learning Institute, which the government intends to use to ensure Guyanese get their undergraduate degrees, master's program, and PhDs. The scholarships will be extended to persons in all 10 administrative regions of Guyana. And now let's tell you, the Director of Public Prosecutions has recommended that no charge be laid against 32-year-old Stacey Johnson, who was in custody for allegedly stabbing her husband in a bid to protect herself. The incident, which landed Stacey in the lockups, took place last week, Wednesday, around 21 hours at the couple's Block 22 Wismer Linden home. It is understood that 29-year-old Sean Johnson, after giving his statement to the police, indicated to them that he doesn't want to proceed against his wife. The incident, which stemmed from an argument between the couple, led to Stacey stabbing her husband with the same knife which he used to threaten to kill her with. Meanwhile, the alleged Lagrange murder mastermind, 29-year-old Janki Tapsi, also known as Samantha Khan, was on Wednesday sentenced to 6 months in jail for escaping from lawful custody. Tapsi was at the time arrested for the murder of 85-year-old Bibi Ramjit, who was strangled to death at her home located at Old Road, Lagrange. She had fled to Suriname, was captured and handed over last November 18th. While in custody, police reported that Janki escaped from a toilet within the station. Charges are yet to be laid against her for the murder of Ramjit. It is now 12 hours 10. Coming up after the break is your COVID-19 update.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And now for your COVID-19 update. According to Worldometer, the number of worldwide coronavirus cases has reached 113.6 million, with deaths at 2.5 million and recoveries at 89.2 million. Locally, the Ministry of Health yesterday reported 2 new COVID-19 fatalities, a 38-year-old male from Region 7 and a 79-year-old female from Region 4. The ministry also revealed 29 new COVID-19 infections, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 8,485. The Health Ministry in its press release stated that the persons died while receiving treatment at a medical facility, and they have been recorded as the 194th and 195th COVID-19 fatalities. 4 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU and another 10 are in institutional quarantine. Meanwhile, 38 are in institutional isolation and 418 in home isolation. And coming from CNN, the US FDA says the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine meets requirements for emergency use authorization. A committee will meet today on next steps. And coronavirus variants will likely drive a new wave of transmission in the US come spring, infectious diseases experts say. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has reported a 6th consecutive week of declining global coronavirus cases. And with that said, just before wrapping up the news, let's head over to the page 7 of today's Kaieteur newspaper, dedicated to being blunt. Where is the study on the financial viability of the Gas to Shore project? Vice President Jagdeo. You have no business selling dreams about estimating a repayment of the project's development cost in 4 years. You must prove to the people of Ghana that this project will work for them. And we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
With time moving on to 12 hours 14, coming up next, a short presentation from Dr. Glenn Lal, publisher of the Kaieteur News, on the oil and gas sector.
Guyana is going somewhere, guys. This is what our leaders are saying. They are proud. They're extremely proud to tell us that a few hotels is coming here. The Marriott, the Hilton, the Radisson, Palm Court International is coming here. But the question you have to ask yourself and ask your leaders, who will benefit from these deals? Are you going to benefit anything? You would not be benefiting a single cent. I'll tell you why. The land that they're building these hotels on was given to them for free. That land worth billions. And we give them for free. We give them duty free on everything. We give them concessions on everything. But guess what? The locals, people like Badal, who's building the Pegasus, and other players like yourself who want to build a hotel, you have to pay every single dime without any tax breaks to build your hotel. You need a piece of land, a little 2x2, to build a house. and it takes years. I have some staff who applied 15 years and can't get a house lot on to this day. But guess what? These guys come, just said they want to build a hotel, and by the twinkle of an eye, land were given to them. This is what we call development for you and me. Guyana, when these hotels set up and up and running, who you think will be benefiting? Not none of us. When the oil people come and stay in those hotels, the profits they make, guess what, Guyana? No taxes you'll be getting from them. But the ordinary folks with hotels, the local folks with hotels, will have to pay every single cent taxes. Is this fair to a Guyanese? Is this fair to me? Is this fair to you? Guyana, we need to wake up our leaders. Wake them up and let them know that what they're doing everything to benefit and cart off our wealth by the foreigners. Let me end by telling you this, Guyana. The land that you give them, the concessions you give them, the duty-free you give them, the money they make after 40 years, they will turn back now and sell that property that they